Last class we just learned conservation law of energy is preserved, or it is verified in terms of a falling object. Okay. So similarly, we can represent a conservation law of energy in the form of a graph. It is not much important, but since it is given in the exam, in the textbook it is given, so we can just have a look at it. That's enough. Let me see whether it was in your book or other book. So just you can have this picture. How can we represent this falling object, and how conservation of law of energy is preserved in the case of a falling object in the form of a graph. Roughly just draw, maybe for 1 mark question and all. So on y-axis it represents the total energy. Total energy means at a particular point, and x-axis it represents height. So first graph, kinetic energy from height, when it comes down, kinetic energy is maximum. So this represents kinetic energy. This represents kinetic energy. This represents kinetic energy. And what we are, let us consider this is as the maximum point. And you know the potential energy. Potential energy maximum at this height. So this is represent potential energy. So this is the graph. So this graph indicates kinetic energy increasing at 0 at a particular height. So you see total energy is from height to, if the height is increasing, you know the potential energy maximum. When height is decreasing, kinetic energy is maximum. So that is the graph, simple graph. And we have proved yesterday that this kinetic energy plus potential energy is equal to mgh. Just learn, that's all, not much detailed study of it. Okay, I hope you completed. Okay, children, shall we go for next topic? Okay, children, now next topic, what we are moving on to? Work energy theorem for a variable force. So far we have learned for a constant force, what is the work energy theorem? That we have learned that work done is equal to change in kinetic energy. So next heading we are moving on to work energy theorem for a variable force. Work energy theorem for a variable force. You already know whenever there's a variable force is indicated, integration gradually comes. Okay. So work energy theorem for variable force, we prove the same concept. That is kinetic energy is equal to work done in terms of integral. Okay. So we have a time rate of kinetic energy, that is a kinetic energy changing in unit time, dk by dt, where k stands for kinetic energy. First you understand the derivation, then you can write. So if you write it, look at the picture. We are considering a kinetic energy in a particular time, dk by dt, differentiation. So we are taking a small interval of time, then we generalize later. That's what we do in physics. So dk by dt is equal to d by dt of, you already know what is kinetic energy. We have written half mv square. Correct? Now, we already know m. M is a constant. So take it out m here. Then we are going to integrate v squared by 2. We are finding the differentiation. By max, you know, v square. It is v into v. So it is going to be, we are applying a product rule here. So what we do means, v square you will get dv dt into v. dv dt into v. Then from dv by dt, what you will get it? dv by dt stands for acceleration. dv by dt stands for, what is that? Velocity. Yeah. So our equation is going to be changed. So after writing m dv by dt by a, you write it down m a v. ma into v. Good morning, good afternoon, sir. ma into v. Okay. Now what is ma? By Newton's second law, ma is equal to force, mass into acceleration. You are getting equation fv. Now what is v? The v actually is the change in displacement. So we are writing that fv again in terms of f dx by dt. And what is on right side? Right side we have got dk by dt. So naturally dt got cancelled. What is remaining? dk is equal to f dx. So now we got for a small time kinetic energy. Now what is the next step in physics? We have to generalize that equation. So we have to integrate. Integrate within two limits. We consider xi is the initial position. Since it's a two-dimensional motion, xi position xi, and another one is xf. So similarly, corresponding kinetic energy to xi is ki, and corresponding xf kinetic energy is kf. So you are going to get integral ki to kf dk is equal to xi to xf f dx. So this is the work energy theorem for variable force. So where ki and kf are the initial final kinetic energies corresponding to xi and xf. Now finally, after integration, we can write it down. Thus, we can write kf minus ki is equal to work done. Kf minus ki is equal to work done. After writing this, you can directly go. We don't have to waste the time of integrating again within the limits.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am. After writing dk equal to f dx, we should write this equation.
Yes. Integrating from the initial position xi to final position. At the integration, you are going to study in +2 only. So that's why I'm not going to deep into it. You get confused. Differentiation you covered. I know it. So that's what I am just giving the final answer. So this is the equation for work energy theorem for a variable force. Okay. Have you completed, children? Okay, shall we go to the next topic? So next we are going to find out, already we taught gravitational potential energy. There are two types of potential energy. Can you tell me two potential energy we discussed in the last class?
Gravitational potential energy and elastic potential.
Yeah, gravitational potential energy and elastic potential energy. Now, yesterday we have solved, we have derived conservation of energy in GPE or gravitational potential energy. Now we are going to see whether potential energy of a spring, that is what we call elastic potential energy. Yeah, yesterday we have learned. So we are moving on to find out an expression for potential energy of a spring. Okay, because whatever potential energy a spring, whenever it is extend and whenever it compress, it is obtaining a potential energy, that is what we call elastic potential energy. So let us see what is the expression for potential energy of a spring. So next heading, potential energy of a spring. Potential energy of a spring. Okay, so we are going to consider three cases here. Three cases means I just explained to you, then you write. Now just write the heading potential energy of a spring. Yeah, so we have two set of pictures. In FS is anyone is, please mute it, some noise. Okay. Is it sir? Okay. Okay. Fs is equal to, Fs represents spring force. Fs represents spring force. X represents extension or compression in the picture. Now you can see there is a spring attached to a wall, and another end of the spring attached to the block, to a wooden block or heavy block. Now, the first picture indicate there is no displacement. The spring is not stretched or compressed. It is in the usual form. It is in the without any change. Okay. At that point, x is equal to 0. Displacement is 0. But here, Fs can be positive or negative. In the case of spring, Fs can be positive or negative. It is depending upon in which direction the spring force acts. Okay. That means usually this spring is tied to the wall. At the end of the another spring, end of the spring, it is connected a huge block. That means the spring is undergoing a tension there. Spring is undergoing a tension. Therefore, gradually, the force which is acting will be in the opposite direction of displacement. Got it? Because we have learned in the last chapter, normal reaction force, gravitational force, frictional force, and corresponding force. So here we are learned that the spring force actually is the tension experienced by that. So it is tied to a wall and it is connected to a block. So gradually the spring has a tendency. It's an inertia. What is inertia? What is inertia? Anna, what is inertia, dear? Inertia, forgot. Last chapter, law of inertia.
Mass into
That is momentum. Inertia. No, you come. Law of inertia, first Newton's first law. You remember inertia, inertia of rest, inertia of motion. Forgot. Anna, you don't be feel shy. Say. Don't switch off the video. Come. Come. What you said is momentum. Okay. Dia, can you tell me what is inertia? Why this is coming?
It is a property of an object to remain in state of motion.
State of rest or state of motion. So actually the spring is showing the inertia. Okay, you got it? So it is not stretched, it is the normal condition, but still a block is there. So naturally the spring has a tendency to act this way. So that is why Fs is negative in this case. And displacement gradually, suppose we make this spring to extend, displacement going to be this direction. So actually it is a negative work done. So you learn negative work done is happening in this case. Now the second picture, from the 0 position, now the block has been stretched. The block has been pulled to the spring. Okay. This has been pulled the spring. So naturally at that point also you can see gradually tension. When object is pulling the spring, naturally it is going to experience a tension in opposite direction. So Fs is negative when an object is supposed to move. Okay. At this point there is no movement. That I already told you, there is no displacement. But if assumed to be moving, I told you. So second picture is that block is pulling the spring. Naturally the spring has a tendency to resist that, it is pulling back. That is why force is negative. First case, x is equal to 0, naturally force is 0. In this case, Fs is negative, so x is positive. Now come to the second condition. Second condition is spring is compressed. Spring is compressed. Naturally, displacement is going to be this direction, negative, opposite to that. But the spring force is acting in the opposite, compressing, no? It is compressed. So naturally, the spring has a tendency to come to this original position. So in this case, tension is in the opposite direction of the displacement. So actually, potential energy of the spring is actually negative work done because of that extension and compression, but still work is done in that. Okay. So at this point, it has a potential energy. At this point, it has a potential energy. At this point, it has a potential energy. But in this case, since there is no movement, we can say that by mathematically, if you calculate work done F into S, 0, going to be 0 because there is no movement. But in this case, you will get a value. So that is how do we understand potential energy of a spring, extension and compression. Both can take place in the case of spring. Okay. Can we write now? So if you want roughly just draw, it is in your textbook. Otherwise, you just write introduction. You can look it in the textbook and we have learned. So consider a spring of, heading is potential. Consider a spring of negligible mass. Consider a spring of negligible mass whose one end is connected to a wall, and another end connected to a block, which is resting on a smooth horizontal surface. Smooth horizontal surface. Smooth horizontal surface. Okay. So in this case, we are ignoring the frictional force. We are not mentioning the frictional force. We are ignoring it. Okay. So we only think about the spring force. Then we write the spring force Fs is directly proportional to displacement. Spring force Fs is directly proportional to displacement by Hooke's law. So I'll tell you what is Hooke's law. Actually, in the second volume, we are learning detail about Hooke's law. So I'll just tell you what you mean by Hooke's law. So first, directly proportional to
Ma'am.
displace. Yes.
Spelling of
I
Hooke's law.
am giving. It is the scientist Robert Hooke. So it is Hooke's law. Hooke. Hooke's law. So actually we are studying in second volume, mechanical properties of solid. In that, there only Hooke's law coming, but it's come little early because of the potential energy of a spring. Fs is directly proportional to displacement by Hooke's law, and both can be either positive or negative, depending upon extension and compression. Extension and compression of the spring. Extension and compression of the spring. Okay. Now I'm going to give you the statement of Hooke's law. So you can write below that Hooke's law. Hooke's law, or simply we can say force law. This is applicable only in the case of a spring. It is not applicable in other thing. It is only on the cases of anything which can be stretched. Elastic material, not non-elastic, elastic material. Rubber band, maybe a stretchable string, okay, spring, all this elastic materials. So that is Hooke's law. So write down, Hooke's law states that the force acting on a spring, is directly proportional to extension length of extension or compression, okay, both. So actually we study most about extending because of, you know it, no? Whenever some material, when it get heated, suppose a material, it is more elasticity. Sometimes when it get heated, it can expand or it can increase the length and all. So don't worry, when you come to volume 2, you are learning Young's modulus, shear modulus and all that. Okay, to extension length of the spring. That is, F is directly proportional to X, or we can say F is equal to Kx. By removing directly proportional, we can write it, you get a proportionality constant where K stands for spring constant. K stands for spring constant. K, known as spring constant, it is a standard value. All the elastic material has different spring constant. Rubber has different, wire, stretchable wire has different. Okay, so spring has different spring constant. It's a standard value depending upon the material. So when spring is stretched, spring force is equal to minus Kx. Why writing negative? I told you negative only indicates the direction of tensional force. So when it is stretching, spring force going to be minus. When it is compressed, it will be positive. Okay. Then by Hooke's law, what is the work done on the spring? By Hooke's law, when object is extending, by Hooke's law, when object is extending from 0 to x, from 0 to x, then work done in stretching of the spring, then work done in stretching of the spring, work done in stretching of the spring, W is equal to, since it's a variable, W is equal to integral 0 to x, integral 0 to x f dx. Instead of f dx, we can write it kx dx, because f is equal to kx by Hooke's law, kx dx. So I am just writing magnitude. Whenever you are finding magnitude, we may not consider the sign, because we have learned in vector algebra all that. 0 to x kx dx, and that is equal to integrating. So k is a constant, take it out. K is equal to 0 to x dx. And I think I have taught you that standard equation for integration. If you want to understand, I'm not going for detail. Just learn this equation for your, how you get the integration answer. Integral x to the power of n dx is equal to x to the power of n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. So if you just memorize this equation, we can integrate this x dx. Either x ds or t dt, whatever. I think in the first chapter or somewhere I taught you same thing. Now, when you integrate, what you are going to get? You will get k into x to the power of n dx. Here power is 1. So gradually what you get? Integral x to x squared by 2 within the limit x. K into, because there's a limit is given. So after integrating, you have to write it in the square like this. K is equal, k into x squared by 2, 0 to x. Now, 0 is A, 0 is B. So how do we apply the limit? It will be upper limit minus lower limit. Whenever you write answer, by substituting this, both the limits in this x. Okay. When you substitute both the limits here, our answer should be upper limit minus lower limit. So you get it here. Potential energy or work done in a spring is equal to k into upper limit is x, so there is no change in it, x squared by 2 minus lower limit is 0, so 0 squared by 2. And finally what you get? Half kx square. So this is the equation, more or less analog to the kinetic energy, correct? Half mv square or half kx square. So you are getting an analogy between the both, okay? Half kx square. So that is the, once the spring is stretched and coming to rest at that position, if a spring is stretched and it is remaining in that position, whatever work is done, it will be stored in the spring itself. Whatever work is done, it will be stored in the spring itself. So that is why how it became potential energy. Correct? Yeah. So potential energy of the spring is half kx square. In a stretchable condition at rest, the how much work is done, it will be stored in the spring as potential energy. Thus, we can say that it is a conservative force. The spring force is a conservative force because it is only fully depending upon initial position and final position. It is not depend upon path. Yesterday we learned. So we can say spring force is a conservative force. Conservative force. So shall we do one problem based on it? Okay. Based on this, because next is a conservation of potential energy. I may not be able to complete. So we can do one small problem using this equation. Okay. As a part of objective type. Write down. A body of mass 2 kg. A body of mass 2 kg. A body of mass 2 kg. Moving with the velocity of velocity of 10 meter per second, strikes an ideal weightless spring. Ideal weightless spring and produces a compression of 25 centimeter. Calculate the force constant. Calculate the force constant. Force constant is spring constant. Okay, K. So it's clear. Simple it is. If you picturize the picture is like that. A body which is coming and colliding with the spring, and spring got compressed. So if the spring, then after colliding with that block or with that object, spring is just compressed for a small fraction of time. So from the conservation of energy, what we have learned? Loss in potential energy equal to gain in kinetic energy. So in this case, what will be that? Kinetic energy is the one. The body which is moving is going and dashing the spring which is placed at a particular place. So who lost? Kinetic energy lost or potential energy lost? Tell me. Huh? Achyut is telling, correct, Achyut? I can only see Lipuma. You said kinetic energy, is it so?
Yeah.
Yes. Because in this kinetic energy, the body which is moving, that one went and dashed the spring and spring got compressed. So the spring got compressed because of the energy transferred from this moving body to the spring. So who lost? Kinetic energy loss, but potential energy gain. So both kinetic energy of that moving body actually equal to the potential energy of the spring. Okay, so write down. By conservation of energy, kinetic energy of body equal to potential energy of compressed spring. So we just equate both equation. That's simple. Half mv square is equal to half kx square. So what we have to find out? K. X is given to you, 25 centimeter. Since it is 25, converted 25 centimeter into meter, 0.25 meter. Now we are getting the equation. Substitute the value. Okay, mass is given, 2 kg is given to you. Okay, so let us write half me square, half into, and it is it's a velocity is given to you, 10 square. 10 square is equal to, then we don't know the force constant, correct? So we just write half into k into 0.25 square. 2 get cancelled. 2 get cancelled. Half me square, therefore k square will be cross multiply. So you will get 10 square. 200 is equal to 0.25 square into k. 0.25 you know, square of the 25. So k is equal to 200 into 0.25. 25 square, what's the value 25 square? Either you do 0.25 into 0.25, otherwise you change. So I am just writing like this. And when you do, you should get the answer after taking the powers and everything. You should check whether you are getting this answer. Newton per meters. Force constant, force by mass, Newton per meter. So force constant unit is Newton per meter. Okay, children? So check your answer. So I am winding up the session now. So next class we will continue with the conservation law of potential energy. Okay? And children, I am reminding you, without interrupting your study and other things, please complete your projects because we have given you early. So it's your duty, and please send in my mail fast. Don't send in WhatsApp, I cannot, because I have 9th standard also PowerPoint presentation, everything. I cannot have my WhatsApp. Please send in the mail. Okay, thank you. Thank you, children, and best of luck for today's exam.